dive in. All right. Lord in heaven, we pray for the kids that we know and then we don't know. We know you see them. We know that you know their names. We're asking for your mercy and grace that you call them home to you. And we're asking mercy that we would get to pick the heart of that journey, Lord. But even if we're not, all we do pray for the kids. Help us know what your will is and join you in that, Lord. And help us to use something like technology for the purpose of your kingdom. We don't know what we're doing, but we know you do in your name. Amen.
Amen. It's good.
So I want to share a little bit about building relationships in a digital space. I want to give a special shout out to Belgrade Young Life. They really have done most of the ground work on this, especially when like COVID kicked off. And I borrowed a lot of things. So some of it's retelling what other people have done, a little bit of what I've done. But just remember this, no one in our region is an expert at this. You have to spend there's a saying that you have to spend 10,000 hours doing something before you're an expert. None of us are experts. We're all trying to figure this out. So there's lots of freedom to try, to fail. I just am trying a social media, Instagram fundraising 12 Days of Christmas campaign. And I basically, my first day, totally failed publicly on it. So it was like, okay, here we go. Some people gave some pity gifts afterwards because it was so bad. So there you go. We're all trying what we're doing. But this is just a reminder, of what our mission is. It's to introduce adolescents to Jesus Christ and help them grow in their faith. And then I took a peek at our methods. We do it by praying for young people, going where kids are at, build a relationship with them, earning the right to share the gospel, providing fun, adventurous, life-changing, skill-building experiences. By the way, I didn't know skill-building experiences wasn't part of our method, but there it is. We're doing skill-building, inviting kids to respond to the gospel, prepare kids for a relationship with Jesus, and work in the community alongside like-minded adults. And when I actually looked at this, I went, oh my goodness, we can actually do all these things virtually. We don't like to. We're not really necessarily wanting to. But what's interesting about the missionary methods is we actually can do these things, not face-to-face. This one is interesting. Going where kids are and building personal relationships with them. Here's what we've learned, right? When COVID hit and we all got isolated and kids were put in Zoom classes and lots of different things, that they are much more equipped for a digital world than we were in young life. It's kind of a place that I think I personally was like, I don't need to go there because I'm on campus and I'm with kids. And then went, oh, but here's the thing. Gen Z adolescents, this is before COVID, spent between 4 and 6 hours a day in digital media. Before COVID, 4 to 6 hours a day on digital media. There's no stat I found on what it is now currently, but I can't imagine it's gone down. So their social lives are digital, so they don't need to leave the house to spend time with friends. So there is less. Before this, there was less time face-to-face in general. Many Gen Z adolescents feel much more comfortable communicating digitally than face-to-face. As of 2015, race and socioeconomic differences disappeared in social media use by Gen Z, meaning smartphones it looks like, this is what they're saying, it appears smartphones eliminated an internet gap that used to exist between classes. Now, Carl, you're our resident college student here. So how accurate does this data look to you?
People are comfortable with technology, yes. Yeah. I kind of fear that third one, that it's because they can kind of hide behind a screen, which is kind of scary. I guess I would be more comfortable, but it's kind of, you'd rather be face to face, I guess. I don't know.
Yes. But, yeah. And that's just one researcher's, there's probably a couple studies that are feel comfortable is a relative term also. So that's some of the data. I was just showing this to go, hey, going into kids' world, this actually is kids' world. The online world is the world of kids. And we're just learning how to be a part of it now. One thing that was on that list of our method is to pray for kids. And so here's just one way we start with I can't go to campus and I can't meet kids. I don't have access to a yearbook. Go through your club or club's followers on Instagram. Go through each and then I realize, by the way, let me pause this for a minute. I realize everything I'm going to say tonight is going to sound digital stalkery, and I understand that. We feel the same way as doing in-person contact work. Okay, we're just applying it to a different field, and there's lots of negative connotations, right, of like online predators and things like that. I've never been a man on campus doing contact work. Sorry, but I have plenty of my male friends who said they feel like every parent and kid is looking at them like they're a child molester on campus because there's a stereotype of men, male child predators, right? I've never felt like that as a female. So I can only imagine that this feels a little similar to that. But just remember, it's the same thing. We're just applying those principles into a digital space, and then trying to use it and trying to not use it, steward it. We're trying to steward it as what the Lord has given to us and what we have responsibility over. So one thing you go through your account, click on each kid, and find out who they are. Like, do they go to the school? Did they graduate from the school? Sometimes their profiles are private, and you're like, how come they're following us and we're not following them back? And go and start making a list of who are the kids that we already are in contact with that are currently at the school. Because we have kids that graduate, right, and that kind of stuff, or parents, and they follow it. And you can make a list there and then start praying. And you can divide kids' names between your team and have leaders praying for kids specifically by name by just simply going through your Instagram list. Okay, talk about levels of contact work. You got to go back to new leader training. All right, but here's why I put us up here. Because when we understand the purpose, we can translate it for any kind of situation. It's one of the reasons Young Life survives and thrives around the world, because we take the same principle and then we translate it to wherever we are. So this is like a fun pop quiz. I should have done prizes. Caitlin, we should do prizes, right? Okay. We'll do this in the chat. Who can name level 1 contact work? What's level 1 contact work? You can also probably Google it and see what happens. No, level 1 contact work. Jess Meza got it, being seen. Okay, level 2 contact work. I would say most leaders I talk to say level 2 is the hardest level of contact work that there is. It is initiating conversation. It's actually talking to a person for the first time. And level three, most common contact work we see.
Doing something.
Yes, doing things together with kids. So now we're going to translate that. Being seen, initiating conversation, and doing things with kids, but we're moving it to a digital format, okay? So how are you seen in a digital space? Let's go ahead and unmute. How do you, just brainstorm. How are you seen in a digital space?
Posting stuff.
Mm-hmm. Does anyone online game here? I don't online game. I just hear about it from other people. Oh, Jess says adding people to your account. Yeah, if you click follow, you will be seen for sure. Commenting 100%, you'll be seen. Here's the part, what a part of it is choosing your platform. If you go on Facebook, you may not run into a lot of high school students active on there. You might run into their parents, but maybe not them. So Instagram crosses the gamut. TikTok obviously is huge. Snapchat, there are more, by the way, but these are more common ones. And we have online gaming, interactive games, Among Us. Animal Crossing has been huge on Switch. Is that an interactive? Can you do that interactively? I don't know anything about video games. This is bad. But it has been the height of popular games. Fortnite.
I've heard Among Us has been huge, at least up here in Spokane. That's been a big one. I know a lot of people are using that.
Yes, it's huge. And online games and apps, they move quickly through adolescence. It's kind of trying to find what they're playing now and then learning about it, But really, part of it's just start start pressing follow. Jess Mesa hit it too. Okay, how do I know where to start though? Like if you're like, where do I go? What virtual space do I go in? Ask kids or parents you already know, even in a club or area email blast. Maybe you're doing an update to your club or the area, your year-end stuff, and just throw a quick question. If you have teenagers, where do they spend their time online? And just see what parents have to say because they're watching their kids do it. But you can ask the kids you know. You can put it as a Instagram post or a poll. Like what are you playing? Where are you? You can put, one thing is most schools have also some kind of social media account, a Twitter, Remind, Instagram, sometimes not just the schools, but the activities in the schools, the band might have their own deal. The track team will have their own deal. The football team will probably for sure have their own deal. Have you explored where your school's social media is? Because in there, it's like having a school directory where you can go, oh, look at all these people following in here. How do I get in this classroom? Classroom would be the virtual classroom and Remind. And then you can keep apprised of even just how the school's communicating with kids. I know, I realize I sound online predatory, but we're doing the same thing. This is the same thing as like if you went to the office or went online and asked for the sports schedule so you could figure out where you're going to go and where you're going to meet kids. So we're just doing it in a different space. Okay, do's and don'ts. Give me some posting do's and don'ts, you guys. I know you've seen them.
Remember that you are a young life leader, and so be appropriate even on your own personal Instagram account or any account.
Yes, yes. Remember that parents and kids get the right to follow you on this. Everything you post will be connected to Young Life and will be related to other Christians also. So, what else? What are things you click past quickly, and what are things you watch when you're on social media?
Funny stuff. I think the
Yes.
kids seem to really interact with funny stuff, and then when we do polls of like random what I think are moronic questions, they really love it. Like he loves putting them together and I'm like, this is so stupid, but the kids really engage and I'm like, okay, fine. You win. They're just silly questions, you know what I mean? I'm
Yes.
more deep and he's more at the service funny. So
No, here's what it says. This is what research says, that one outcome of the pandemic is Gen Z is looking for more entertainment on social media.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing is a priority shift happened, and it used to be like wealth and success was a top priority, and now it's moved over to physical health and well-being. So I move forward to that, but I'm gonna go back to this other one. Okay, do's and don'ts. Like we all know, like I hope we all know, don't post pictures on your Instagram like feed all day. Like don't fill someone, or it's like don't fill up my feed with whatever, you know. The talking head story where it's the same talking head for a bunch of slides, you know, nothing's moved. It's just still someone talking, you know, we move through that pretty quickly. There is one of the biggest things our adolescents are facing is that most digital content is curated, it is manipulated, it is not honest. So what they're looking for is authenticity. Authenticity and oversharing are not the same thing, but authenticity, like you are who you say you are real. You're not pretending to be someone else. It's an unfiltered picture. It's not, you know, hashtag filter free. Exactly. It's not, oh, love my mornings. And it's like a coffee and like, you know, things placed around you and that kind of stuff. They are really looking for who's telling the truth. In the digital space is really, really clear for that. So knowing that, okay, like what does this make you think content-wise as opposed to like just knowing what we know right now? What does that make you think content-wise of what do we post?
Not 100% here, but we get a lot better feedback when we're not just posting like graphics of like, hey, here's when club is, here's when campaigners is, but like, hey, here's like what club was, and here's like a fun something that happened, or like people want to see faces and they want to see action and stuff on our social media as opposed to just like information.
Yes, they do want to interact with people. You've got it, man. I've seen that too. Better with people than with graphics. We're good at humor, you guys. Like, if there's one thing that we value as a mission is laughter, deep, good laughter. If you look at all our little principles, like being fools for Christ's sake, not taking ourselves seriously so we can take Christ really seriously. This is what we're good at, is being silly, authentic, and not worrying that we have to look cool or curated. And that's going to be a gift. That's a gift in the social media space. So as you start like thinking, what are we going to talk about? What do we post about? Two of the things we can lean into our strengths in this. Just remember this. It's going to feel superficial. It's just being seen. This is similar to going to a campus and not talking to anybody. I just went to the game and I watched it and I left, or whatever it is. It feels superficial, but it actually helps you be more specifically seen than walking into a football game and just standing there and not watching it. You may get noticed by a few kids. They may not remember you, but this actual virtual space puts a name and a face and connects it a little more individually than we're used to, and like going to a basketball game or something like that. But here's the thing. We stall out if we stay here. Okay, so we have to figure out how in the digital space to move their relationship forward, because we're young life leaders. So here it's second, level 2, initiating conversation. So we've already touched on this: commenting, liking, mentioning someone. So maybe you're like commenting on something else and you're tagging someone else in your comment while you're doing it. Direct messaging. Here's kids want to be seen, right? They love. Okay, I really read an article that said that comments, mentions, DMs put off the same chemical response in the brain for a Gen Z adolescent as winning money and eating chocolate. How's that? And that's one of the reasons Gen Z, when they hear that, they talk about the addictive nature of social media. It's because it's a reward response. They do want to be seen in a safe, authentic environment for sure. So it's not. You're going to feel like a creeper sliding into someone's DMs, right? Like, I wouldn't just cold call a kid and slide onto their DM. Like I hopefully would know, like, I could slide in and go, oh my gosh, Caitlin told me how awesome you were, and I just saw your story, and like, it was so cool to get to put a face to the name of someone I've heard about, or whatever it is. You know, different kids have different radars when it comes to digital stuff. Some kids have better radars that like stranger danger, and some are just hungry for the attention. So it's a little bit of a widespread, like, of a comment that's like, this is so awesome, you're so great. It's like, actually, kids are looking for that. It needs to come from the right audience, which should be us. But this is what I mean by, like, okay, we are initiating conversation specific ways. We're going to kids and starting. You probably could I wouldn't slide into a DM as first initial thing. I might comment and say, hey, Caitlin, like, I'm a young life leader at your high school, and I just saw this post, and I just, think you're awesome, or whatever. It's like, here's why I liked your post, that kind of thing. I have a passive voice here for level 2 because there's things we put out that kids respond to. That's different than initiating a conversation. Like, I'm going to go to you and I'm going to start a conversation with you, versus I'm going to put out something and see how you respond to it. So like the this or that on Instagram, on the, like Chick-fil-A, or I just had Chick-fil-A, by the way. So I can't think of anything else. How about Chick-fil-A sauce or Polynesian? Wendy's or Burger King? You could go Crest or Aquafresh, and kids will interact with that, and you can see who's interacting with you. Any kind of quiz that's on there, kids interact with. You can run a scavenger hunt on your Instagram, but that is more like casting out a net and seeing who bites, and that's different than going through and then initiating conversation with kids. It's probably a mix of both that we're doing with our teams. Okay, level 3 is we're doing things together. Now, this is the step that I think we haven't quite mastered as well. We've gotten used to, like, okay, how do we enter into digital space? But this actually moves that relationship forward again. So instead of the wide net of the quiz that's posted on Instagram, we're now moving into a small group of doing things together. So we have a lot of people are doing Among Us, because it started off as an app on the phone, and now we have smaller groups playing where they have a Zoom going at the same time. Okay, is anyone not, sorry, raise your hand if you have not heard of Among Us. Okay. There's an old game we used to play called Murderer in the Dark. Yeah, it's like the online version of that. So you still have to get together and talk about who's the murderer and that kind of piece. But it caught on the app, and you can kind of invite people to play with you. So you can do this in like 2 ways. You can do a big sign up and have a sign up in your Instagram, or you can just like personally invite, which I probably think is a better way. Personally invite a few kids and say, hey, we're gonna do a game you want to play. We're doing a Fortnite game. We're doing a whatever game. Come play with us. And then you have a small group where you've initiated a personal invitation to a group of kids. The whole online, like the whole focus on health, physical health and well-being, since we're inside, is funny. And I've started to see this pop up where people are doing, I've seen Instagram live workouts. I've seen a few Zoom workouts. So it's not Instagram live. It's not for anyone to pop in and pop out of, It's like, okay, the 3 of us or the 4 of us, we're going to do some yoga together, and knowing your kids and knowing like it's a safe space for a teenager to join, and they can turn their camera off if they want to and still be a part of the group. But you can have that kind of like we're talking about small group thoughts. We have brainstormed this idea of Santa's Let's Make a Deal. Like, so Santa, have you guys seen Let's Make a Deal? If you know how to play Let's Make a Deal, so you have the prize, Santa would show up with a prize. Here's present number 1. You can take present number 1, or you can forfeit it for present number 2, and then present number 2 rolls out, and they got to decide, and then you reveal what present number 2 is, and you go, okay, you can keep present number 2, and you know what it is. It's a Young Life hat, or there's present number 3, So you can we've seen signups in Instagram profiles where people can sign up for the mobile prom. So this would be the same. They can sign up for Santa Claus to come to their house, or you could have parents sign up for Santa Claus to come to their house. And it would be like at the door, it's a one-on-one. You could be filming it, you could be streaming it, that kind of thing. Obviously, everyone's masked up and socially distanced apart. But that is another place where we're moving, like, okay, we're in a digital space and we're going to move forward. You could even use that digital space to talk to another kid and say, hey, we're doing a Santa, let's make a deal. Who should we get? And then have them be a part of that conversation. It could be a new friend, and you can get there and go, you've been nominated by Carl to have Santa Claus come and let's make a deal. One thing that I have done is with my old campaigner group is we do a Marco Polo challenge with each other, where we're all in a group Marco Polo. We are in a daily scripture reading schedule with each other. And the thing is that your goal is to get on the Marco Polo at some point during the day and share what the Lord showed you, or something you had a question about, or something you liked about what we read. And you can respond to other people's Marco Polos. And what that did is create, we're not all together at the same time. We get to watch each other and interact with each other in scripture through different parts of the day when whoever pops on. And not everyone pops on every day. Sometimes it's just one person, this kind of thing. But we made it through, we did 1 John together, and then it took us about 6 weeks, because I think we did like 2 verses at a time kind of thing. And at the end of it, it was, what do you guys want to do? Like, let's keep doing it. So we get to read scripture together and interact in Marco Polo in a small closed group. So I want to be clear about this. Inviting kids into a small closed group is how we move the relationship forward. If we just do blankets and let kids respond, and we do a trivia night where they're kind of interacting, but they're more like a person in the crowd, what we're doing is we're running a program. That's like club. We're up front, we're doing our thing, and you are watching. When we move something to a smaller gathering group, that's when we're moving the relationship forward. It's a personal invite, it's small. My experience has been before pandemic is more and more kids wanted to do things one-on-one with me than in group settings. We may find the same thing in an online space. Like, I don't want to do a Zoom with 4 kids, but I would for sure do a Zoom workout with you, just you and me on there, with our cameras on, with all the embarrassing things happening. So that will be a part we're going to have to figure out as we're doing this. Like, no one's experts at this still. So where do I go from here to spiritual conversations and sharing the gospel? It's the same kind of question we would ask if we're doing in-person contact work. how do we go from like, oh yeah, we play Among Us, and then, you know, a couple of us get together on Saturday morning online and we do like a mini CrossFit workout with Caitlin, and it's cool, you know, and I do the quiz, that kind of thing. So here's my question for you. Even in a typical contact work, how would you move that relationship into a more spiritual conversations?
I think it always starts off with being able to ask a question that's deep but not threatening. So, I mean, even a simple question like, hey, on a scale from 1 to 5, how would you rate your hope that you'll be able to, or your joy, your happiness level, you know, or something. And so you start to move towards feelings which, you know, kind of tie right side of the brain, which kind of gets you thinking about deeper things. So it's a key to asking those questions progressively to a place, you know, even to say, would you say that this has been one of the more hopeless times have ever dealt with? Or has there been times that have been actually harder than COVID, you know? And it just opens up a conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, Ken hit that really good. Like, we're going to become really, really good question askers right now. We're going to hone our question asking skills. Right? What else? How do I go from here into sharing Christ with kids?
I'll just say thanks for asking the question. Kent, thanks for sharing that too, because this is exactly where I'm at with a group of about eighth graders. And there's 3 or 4 of them that have no faith background, no church. One's from an atheist family. I mean, they're all over the place. We've been playing Among Us, and we've been playing all these games and building worlds together with Zoom, just doing highs and lows for a while. But some new people are in there too. And we're like, how do we, where we were like 4 months ago, how do we get back there with these new people that we connected with online by just playing and hanging out and checking in with each other? How do we cross that bridge? How do we take that next step? So I don't have an answer, but thank you for asking it.
I think there's a couple of really, I mean, we're going to become good question answers, right? Like, one of the questions, you know, I usually have used at this time of year is, tell me what your family tradition is for Christmas, because I'll learn a lot from them answering that question. I'll learn if they go to church, if they have a family member that makes it like, oh, we go to church with grandma, makes us go to church, you know, or if there's no tradition. Like, I learn a lot in that conversation, and that just kind of moves forward. The simplest way that I have found with kids that's not as threatening is to say, hey, I like to pray for you. I pray whatever, you know, I try to pray whatever I think you might need, but how can I pray for you? And you can work a tradition into your time if you're doing like an Among Us gathering or whatever, of going, hey, so every time we're together, I'm gonna throw out one question, and we're gonna have a little count time together, you know. You could do it that way. One way you can do is ask kids, hey, this is a place that I want to be able to have a few minutes where we're talking about real stuff, faith, God, truth, life. Here's what I would love. Tell me, give me questions you think kids your age have about who God is. If you have skeptics, you know, you could say, tell me one reason someone you know does not follow Jesus. I use someone you know or kids your age because it's a little bit less like spotlighty on them, you know, like, tell me about kids at your school. If I ask them why they didn't believe in the Bible, what would they tell me? And try to like, see, let's get those questions out. Kids need to process with questions. They need to know that they are safe in the place they can have questions. You could even just pick like, hey, when we're together, I love getting your thoughts. What if we're going to look at one verse, and I just want you to tell me what you think about it. This is not campaigners, right? We're not saying this is authoritative and you should live by it. We're asking them to respond to what they're seeing, you know, and hopefully earning the right to be heard. These are all different levels. So you will know your kids. You know the kids who need to say, hey man, I just want to know how to pray for you because I'm going to pray for you no matter what. It'd just be nice to know if you let me know what to pray for you. To like, hey man, tell me what Christmas and what does your family celebrate, to creating a tradition where we're going to have not a mini club talk, but we're going to have or a mini cabin time when we're together. So we're going to in your group setting. So,
I was Tanita, I was talking with Micah the other day about some of this stuff. They're doing some really attempting to do some really good online kind of stuff down at in the valley, down by Millwood at West Valley High School. And he was saying that he's finding that any kid who kind of joins into a smaller Zoom conversation, you know, level 3 sort of, or whatever, that he's finding they're really more willing to they're more willing to go deep. Like if you it's a little more of a risk to jump onto a Zoom call in a world where you're a little, it's weird. This is where Zoom can be helpful. That he's finding you can actually go deeper and ask deeper things with kids, because if they're on there, it's no bait and switch. We're not doing any bait and switch. You know, they know if they're coming on the Zoom that, you know, it's he's just said he's just finding that you can ask deeper and bigger things without freaking people out.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, yeah, because they're logging on to go to do this, right? It's like one of the things I learned about campaigners a long time ago. I was doing new leader training. I had like 30 people in the room, and I asked people to rate in their hands on 1 to 10 how much they liked their campaigners, how good their campaigner was in high school. And the number one factor for people who rated 9 and 10 is they said it didn't matter if it was just me. They always opened the Bible. That was the number one thing that rated. The lower ones were like, yeah, sometimes they canceled it because not enough kids came, or we just went and got ice cream. So I think there's something honoring about what Micah has found about, no, we came because we know that this is what you guys talk about. So we're ready to talk about it now. I think someone did a study, this is really old and I don't have data for it at all, but someone said, I probably heard this at a Young Life training a long time ago, that we ask, that your average Young Life leader asks about kids spiritual questions about God and Jesus 6 months after that kid wanted to talk about it. We tend to wait and wait and wait and wait because we're so afraid of making someone uncomfortable in it. We do the same thing in the donor world, right? We don't like, I don't want you to feel uncomfortable when I'm asking for money and that kind of thing. But I think that if we are being authentic in our care for kids and our love for them, you know, we will share in a way that is honest and vulnerable, in a way that they know that it's the most important thing in my life. I'll tell you this, what I've learned having small children. It sounds really weird. I have had to learn how to talk about Jesus and God in my everyday life and whatever I'm doing, because they're not in like a place where they're in a Bible study. They're not in a Sunday school, right? They're 3 and they're 5 in COVID land. So how do I talk about Jesus and God and the Holy Spirit in my everyday life, that they recognize that that's a part of what we believe and who we follow? And I've kind of been convicted about, how do I talk about it when I'm with my Young Life kids? Does God come up in my conversation at all? Even not preaching to them, but like, oh man, I just had to thank God for the beautiful day we have today, you know, like, or, you know, however it is, am I incorporating that in my conversation where they would even know that that's what I'm about? So that's just a piece of like what I'm learning in this, and we're learning in the digital space, going, how do we do this with our conversations? Any thoughts on that? Oops, this is my blank slide from the template that I downloaded. This is also like, if this kind of intrigues your interest. So we're launching a contact work coaching initiative. We're doing a beta test group where we're having people who are coaches paired with leaders to figure out how can we take people to the next level of contact work. And we are incorporating a digital curriculum. There's a digital track. So there's an in-person contact work coach track, and there's a digital contact work coach track, that both of them are 12 weeks long, that move through this piece. So if this interests you, you can grab your area director, say, can you ask Nita about this? Because this is a place we're trying to learn about how to do this and move relationships forward. Now, hopefully, by the way, we're in a digital space that we're still moving to, like, hey, we're gonna go for a hike, or gosh, we can collect with one person outside of our household outdoors right now. You know, we're going to go do jumping jacks in the park, whatever it is. Like, we'd love you to come with us. We are trying to move people and invite people, but we also have to understand that there's a good chunk of our adolescents who really do live in the digital space, and we get to go to them in that place where we really haven't gone to before. And so that's kind of the exciting piece about this, is we're using this tool to really know kids' names and faces, to initiate conversation, to be proactive with our relationship, and figure out how to move that relationship forward. Group hangouts, one-on-one conversations, one-on-one Marco Polos where they can share a little more comfortably with you. So none of us are experts for this. I borrowed a lot of things from other people. This is not usually my comfort zone is like, y'all, I tried this. It's tried and true, go for it. But this is really good. Okay, we're trying to translate something, but I honest to goodness think it's going to be so good. I think there'll be, if we're really good at this, we really pay attention to it, that there'll be a part of our Young Life ministry that will always be in the digital space. We may have digitally assigned leaders who are interacting with kids who are isolated and behind screens that we're never going to see unless we go into their world with them. So thank you for trying to brainstorm with us. So any Q's and A's and comments and insights? Don't mind me, I'm just like sweating and insecure, so you just keep your screens muted and I'll just be uncomfortable in my kitchen right now. It's like leading a wildlife club and with a skit that fails.
Danita, I really think that the part that you said about kind of moving from the group, like, hey, it's our Instagram live club, come join us. That is like, it is impersonal. And really moving from there to, you know, the personal question, the personal invitation. I mean, we know that's true because we've been texting kids for years, and we know that if we group text them, we will get 0 responses. But if I text them one-on-one and say, hey, are you, Bryn, coming to Campaigners tomorrow? She always responds. So I feel like that's something I think that we learned from text messaging, yet at the same time, we're still like, we're the kids. We got this cool live event. So I don't know. I think it's encouraging. It's like, okay, that just like doesn't work. I mean, it's good for mass production of things, I guess, but it's not the personal touch that we're looking for. So I don't know. I guess part of it's encouraging that it's not just me.
Yes, and I think that one of the things that's hard about this is the digital work. It's both efficient and painfully slow at the same time, because you are doing one-on-one stuff. You can message a ton of kids individually in a short amount of time, and then you can be waiting for a while before you hear anything. But you're also like, you're right. That's what most of our administrators move to, is we're much more effective one-on-one. And that's hard when we've been trained to have a cabinet of 12 that you're leading by yourself.
And honestly, I think, Tanya, I'm thinking, just thought this, that it is slow and difficult. Nobody knows what they're doing. We have these moments where we don't know why, you know, like for a while, Mike was going, hey, we're killing it in club. And all of a sudden kids just quit coming on their digital club and a lot of it is they are honestly Zoom tired. But here's what I think we're secretly doing, and you probably don't know this yet, Tanita, but it's the idea that when we're done with COVID, I think the one thing I think you said is really true. I don't think this digital world's going away, that this churches and people that I'm talking with all the time are saying, we are not going back to no digital. This has taught us that we can do some really good things digitally. I think it's going to be even more important when we get back to normal, that we're going to find that some of this Zoom kind of stuff will be more valuable.
What I'm learning about, because most of the girls I've known in high school, middle school aren't online gamers, but we have a fair amount of guys who are, is how that, and I learned this, is most of their social life is through a headpiece talking to other people while they're gaming. fun fact, by the way, I don't know if you know this, there's a branch of the military that has moved into online gaming as a way of building relationships with potential recruits to get them to join the military. And you're like, okay, if the military is doing this, I feel like we can do this, like talk to kids and build relationships. There's all sorts of stuff you can find on the internet. You start searching for stuff. But I'm sure like if you start putting out to some kids and go, what games do you guys play? Like what do you play with each other? Ask like How to Win Friends and Influence People. Great book, by the way, on contact work. The one things I learned in it was everybody's an expert in something. Find out what it is because they'll want to talk about it with you. And I feel like for this, like, hey kid, where are you guys hanging out online? What games are you playing? Can you tell me about it? Show me about it. Help me be cool. They love talking about their stuff, man. They love it. I feel like this is I don't think I shared anything that's anything groundbreaking. I think what we just talked about was how are we translating this into a different space on it, right? Yeah. Any other thoughts, insights?
You mentioned the contact work coaching. I guess just like how do we do that? Is that going to come out later or just wait? Or?
Good question, Carl. So we just went through a nomination phase with our area directors to nominate coaches for their area. And then we're going to train them, and then we'll go back to area directors and say, okay, we've trained them. Who would you like to be a part of it? And this first group is important because we are actually collecting feedback on every level, the coaches level, the trainees level, like everybody's trying to incorporate this project. So if you're interested, I would go to your area director and say, how do I get one of those things? This is a beta test group this year in hopes that we'll work out the kinks, and hopefully we can launch with a more fuller scaled program in the fall of 2021. Yeah. Okay, here's what I'd love to do for my own heart and fragile ego. Let's just go around the room and we'll just do one sentence. Like your team's gonna go, hey, how was it? What'd you guys learn? What's your one sentence that you feel like you could take away to someone else? I'll start with you, Caitlin. I'm gonna call you guys out. Caitlin.
I would say like the different ways to be more interactive on our clubs or our school's social media account, and like even just the very first start of it, like here are ways that we can start interacting with kids from this school.
All right. Chrissy.
Okay. For me, it's mostly just about doing I think, keep doing fun posts. And like sometimes it's kind of hard because sometimes I think, well, the kids aren't really interacting. But, you know, if I do message them individually, I can have like these long conversations with them. But I guess still doing the fun things through social media is still amazing because you get new people that see it. So, and that adds to your big long list of conversations of deep things with the kids later on.
That's good. Kent?
It's a weird time. I'm not good with social media, so there's that.
We're all learning.
Yeah, I'm not good with social media at all, but I think it's encouraging to like, I love this just idea that, yeah, the football team probably has their little world. And if you could find a way, it is a little creepy. I mean, if you knew a couple people, that'd be helpful, you know, like, but I like the idea of just commenting and just trying to get the next conversation that would be not as weird as the first. You know, you might comment and just go, well, nothing. But if one kid, I don't know, there's just a way to keep going back and maybe a relationship could be born that would lead to something different than just being paralyzed, which most of us have been.
Okay, can I tell you the weirdest thing I found on a school website, like clicking around? Not weirdest, but I was clicking around. I ended up on the high school band because like I said, activities have different Instagrams and Twitters and websites. I ended up on the band site that had a sign up for help at halftime. and all these different jobs you could sign up for. And I was like, all right, I'll sign up for a job at halftime. So I signed up to help with the flag line at halftime. And then it was like, get there early and then we'll get you there. And I'm like, how does not anyone, like, okay. So I showed up, I helped with the flag line. I met a bunch of kids and the people are like, oh, how do you connect with a band? I'm like, I'm not. Like, you guys just let anybody walk in and help with the band. So I did. I kind of wonder if there's things like that right now at our schools where it's like, we need help, entering grades. We need help cleaning classrooms. We need help. Like, who knows what's out there? Care packages for teachers, that kind of stuff. So you're like, if you click around enough, get in there. Oh, that's embarrassing. All right, Lucas, you go.
I think it's just really encouraging to hear some of the things that are like, maybe I should try that out, and just to hear like other people and experts say like, no, that's really, you should do that. And so just kind of the push just to make some of that stuff happen. And so I've been kind of like, should I do it like an Among Us hangout like on Zoom? Like, and obviously, yes, I should. That's I really like that idea of the Santa. I forget what it was called, like the love it or like.
Make deal or do what? Oh, let's make a deal. But you could do anything with Santa. You could do deal or no deal. You could do.
Yeah, but
take my hand.
I think that creates really good content for social media, right? That's kind of that fun entertainment thing that everyone else can be like, oh, that was really fun. Like, I wonder if I'll get picked next or whatever. I think that's a really cool. We'll probably steal that. So.
Steal it. Steal it away. Carl?
Yeah. I'm not really on any social media, so I don't know. But it was still good. It was good to be informed from you guys on like what people are talking about, because I don't get it that much with our Capernaum friends. But anyways, I think one thing I took out of today was even though we're online, like we can still talk about God, and it's okay to be uncomfortable about that. And they're probably gonna be uncomfortable about that too. But like, we can be uncomfortable together. So like, I don't know, like, I guess don't keep like putting that off with kids that we should be talking about God with.
Yeah, I think the authenticity you have in your voice, Carl, even when we're talking to kids, to go like, but this is something I would have been wanting to talk about, but I just don't know how to talk about with you guys. But can we? Like getting permission to do that has been so special sometimes for kids to go, yeah, I do. Let's do it. And they'll, you get permission to have the conversation.
Yeah.
Jeff or Tanya or both in unison.
I don't know. Sorry.
I was good.
This unison thing's not working well. I'll just say something. I think that when it comes to COVID and social media and using all of those new things and learning how to play Among Us, and it just paralyzes us. And it is refreshing to know that it's still important and just as effective to just ask the question. Like, don't be afraid to ask the question. So I guess that's my statement. Like, don't be afraid to ask the question. And I'm the kind of person that I need to think about it ahead of time and write some questions in a discreet place so that I know what questions I'm going to ask them to move the relationship along spiritually. Don't be afraid to ask the question. How about you, Heber?
First of all, I have to acknowledge Kent McDonald. Your mustache game is on fleek. It looks really good. And then second, very timely to be talking about this because, like I said, we're up to about 10 kids. What started as a consistent, faithful campaigner group, Caden Schmidt and I lead, has grown. And we went from campaigners to a mini club. And we are still like, and then we're stuck because it's neither club nor campaigners. But I think, we played Minecraft and we all had a plot of land and we built on it and then voted on which structure that was built during a 30-minute period of time was the best. It was super fun and engaging, but just that bridge question. And I liked I like that. What do you have any Christmas traditions? And are they faith inspired or just culture inspired? Like just something basic that anyone can answer that's kind of slowly moving from one side of the brain to the other. Dietrich and I were flying together and we had this conversation. What should we do? We need to like get back to beyond highs and lows. We used to like say a prayer at the end, and now we've like backed off with all these new kids who are coming for Among Us and Minecraft. So my takeaway is thinking about taking a step back and thinking basic questions that get us to progress, because these kids are hungry, they want to talk, but we are the skilled question askers, and kids, we're drawing community together and we're helping introduce kids to Jesus Christ, but realizing that introduction, that there's those early steps to do that. And yeah, just talking about this was helpful because I've done it 1,000,000 times in person. I've done it 0 times digitally. So
yeah, Jeff, I was just thinking about, years back, we had those book of questions, 500 questions or 150 questions. And just to include in your digital times, hey, one of the things we're going to add, just because every now and then we might want to get real or we might not, but if we never try, we'll never will. So let's try it. So at the end of everything, somebody gets to pick a number and you can leave or stay on and pick a number. We'll answer the question.
That's great. Yeah.
I mean, it might be more useful now than it was when it was live.
Let's reintroduce the question game. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Like table topics, right? Like
Yep.
just when you had meals at camp.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Gaio?
Well, kind of bring me back to, we're trying to do Instagram in a big group, and it's not working. Kids are complaining with Zoom calls because they have like 3 or 4 a day. But something that you said, they hit me hard, and I think I want to tweak it a little bit. You said sometimes when you message everyone in a big group message, people don't answer. I'm going to start doing club with my 5 campaigners boys, my 5 kids. I need in a small group, or that way they're all willing to speak, to share, rather than in the big Zoom call, because no one want to be. So we have the issue that when we do Zoom calls, everyone want to be no camera. But if they know you well, or they know their little crew, they tune it on. So I will do the same thing now, and also I want to start writing those bridge questions that I will move to the next. I have done with a couple, but I have 2, 3 difficult ones that are like, don't have a pretty solid home where I can bring those faith conversations, but they see what's going on in my house. And one asked me last week, how you and your wife don't have too many, my mom and dad are always arguing about things, and you guys just laugh about things. I said, we argue, but so it gave me opportunity to talk with one of the kids, like a couple months ago. So they describes, the one who helped me because I'm a mess, and he was like, no way. So I want to start writing some bridge questions that I can use to engage those kids into conversation. So those 2 things that I got into that. This is really helpful, by the way, Tanita. This is really helpful.
Oh my goodness, we're all figuring this out together. I just love that. I even like the topic of like just labeling it bridge questions, and maybe we can like even just work on this and share and share them at our summit and later on in the next semester, and that kind of different stuff where we can keep sharing those bridge questions, because they are different in the digital space and they feel different in digital space. Okay, 7:30. I'm going to close us. I'm going to give you one bonus entertainment idea that I've been toying around in my head, but I haven't done. But this is funny content, because I see these TikTok dances and I'm like, there's no way I could do that. Oh, I bet our club kids would die if they saw some of our leaders. Like if you had, TikTok Tuesday with Tanya, and kids had to pick a TikTok dance that she had to do on Instagram, or guess what it was. They're like, we need you to do the Renegade. And she had to figure it out what it was, or then try to do the actual one or whatever. Like there's a piece of silliness that we get to do with that, going, I'm not good at TikTok dances. I tried, by the way, just between you and me, to try to be in kids' world. I did for sure. Was like, okay, I'm a savage. Like, just I watched a YouTube video for 15 minutes, and that's as far as I got in that. So the silliness of not knowing how to do that and being like, okay, you guys, you nominated, and you can make it up. You nominated Cat McDonald to do whatever, you know, and then I feel it could be fun for kids to watch us be silly and dumb, because we know they're also doing this for hours in their bedroom. Be serious. All right,
That's another takeaway I'll say, Tanita, is that we do play games together, but we haven't done anything fun. And just this reminded me that we can do fun stuff, like let's make a deal or a contest or a prize, or, you know, get somebody to get on the Zoom call and do this dare. But I've lost that essence in the digital land. But that used to be believe it or not, you probably all think I'm not very fun, but I used to be really fun. I used to do crazy stuff. And it's just fun to think about digitally. Yeah, Jason's like, right.
Do you remember that game in club we used to do where we had to have a kid call their parents and then try to get them to say a word, you know? Like, I mean, that's something people could mute their mics and you could have someone on speakerphone being like, you know, whatever it was. There's probably, if we went through our old games and skits, there's probably some stuff we can figure out we can do with kids. Scavenger hunts, I've had a lot of fun with people, either live on Zoom or on Instagram. Like, they'd stop and I'm like, okay, first person to get 3 rolls of toilet paper, go! And then you watch the screens like everyone's out and running around. And we're just having to invent the Zoom call, so it's not just kids like this, right? All right, let's. Oh, and by the way, freedom to fail. We're gonna try things that don't work. I try lots of things that don't work, and I feel really dumb. That's totally fine. Like, this is a time we're going to keep throwing things at the wall, and 80% of it's not going to stick, but the 20% that does is not only going to help our kids, it's going to help everyone around us who's trying to do the exact same thing and figure it out. So fail freely, my friend. Fail in faith, knowing that failure was your step in obedience to try to tell kids about Jesus. That's what the success is. Steps in obedience, not crazy success. Unless you're all future influencers, in which case I'll swipe up and I'll buy whatever you're selling. All right. Lord in heaven, thank you for this weird, funny time together, that you take things and you redeem them for your good. So we ask for your light to be shown in the darkness, in the digital spaces that we have not been good at going before. We pray for the kids who are online in this moment. Would you help our paths cross, Lord? Would you give us opportunities where we could lead someone to Christ over a Zoom call or Marco Polo or FaceTime? That kids meet Jesus, Lord, through a screen. We're praying for that opportunity in your name. Amen.
Thank you, Tanita.
Tanita, it was awesome.